Hey, what's going on, guys? Today we'll be talking about what I think will be happening in the first round of the NFL draft. This on another episode of... So with the first pick in the NFL draft, I think the Tennessee Titans will select Cam Ward. Now, Cam Ward is the obvious choice. They need a quarterback, and he's the best one in this draft. So I think the Tennessee Titans will take a swing at getting their quarterback of the future here to start off the draft in 2025. With the second pick, I think the Cleveland Browns will take Travis Hunter of Colorado. Now, Travis Hunter provides a unique ability of both playing offense and defense for the Browns, and with the Browns being in a position where a rookie quarterback wouldn't necessarily make them a better team in 2025, I think taking Travis Hunter is the best option for them because it gives them that ability to start preparing for a potential pick of a quarterback in 2026. With the third pick in the NFL draft, I think the New York Giants will take a swing at Abdul Carter. Now, Carter is a very good defensive player, and he'll have immediate impact on the Giants. I think the Giants will pick him because both Brian Daboll and the Giants GM are very much so in a position where they need to save their job. If they don't do good in the 2025 season, they are most likely going to be fired. And taking Abdul Carter here is their best bet at avoiding that fate. At number 4, I think the New England Patriots will take Will Campbell of LSU. Now, Will Campbell is one of the better offensive linemen in this draft, and their O-line was one of the worst last year. So taking an O-lineman here will be a step in the right direction to protecting Drake May and making themselves a better football team. So at number 5, I think the Jacksonville Jaguars will take Mason Graham of Michigan. Now, Mason Graham's a good defensive tackle, and I think the reason the Jacksonville Jaguars take him here is because they're going to be operating on a best player available kind of drafting strategy where they have multiple needs, but they're just going to take the best player available to fill each need when they have a pick that comes up. At number 6, I think the Las Vegas Raiders will take Ashton Jeanty of Boise State. Now, Jeanty is the standout running back in this class, and the Las Vegas Raiders desperately need a running back. The Raiders have a bunch of other needs that I think they can address at other points in the draft, but I think Jeanty being the running back they take here makes the most sense and will give them the best chance to have a good running game in 2025. At number 7, I have the Jets taking Armand Membu of Missouri. Now, the Jets O-line was very bad in the 2024 season, and taking offensive tackle here will help protect Justin Fields heading into 2025, and that's definitely the most important thing the Jets can do in this offseason. At number 8, I have the Carolina Panthers taking Tet McMillan of Arizona. Now, McMillan is, I think, in my opinion, the best wide receiver in this draft class, and the Panthers are going to take him because they're going to look to build upon the success Bryce Young had at the end of the 2024 season. At number 9, we have a big surprise because the New Orleans Saints are going to take Shedeur Sanders. Now, Shedeur Sanders has fallen down the draft boards as we've gotten closer to the draft, but I think the Saints will take him here because they need to. Derek Carr may potentially miss most of the 2025 NFL season because of an injury, and if the Saints want to be competitive at all, they need a quarterback. And Shedeur Sanders here, given how far he's fallen down, provides a nice value pick here for his skill level. At number 10, the Chicago Bears will take Shamar Stewart, and that's because they need pass rush. They don't have the most pass rushers in Chicago, and taking a good pass rusher here at 10 will give them the ability to get that defense working a little better in the NFC North. At number 11, I have the San Francisco 49ers taking Will Johnson of Michigan. Now, the Niners, they have a lot of holes to fill. I think Will Johnson is a good cornerback prospect. At number 12, we have the Dallas Cowboys picking Matthew Golden of Texas. Now, Dallas Cowboys have CeeDee Lamb, and that's about it in their passing game. They don't have another good wide receiver. So I think taking a young prospect like Golden here is a good option because they can pair him up with CeeDee, and Golden will be able to develop into that system with Dak Prescott still being the quarterback, and hopefully will be a successful draft pick for Jerry Jones. At number 13, we have the Miami Dolphins taking Kelvin Banks Jr., offensive tackle out of Texas. Now, the Dolphins had several key pieces leave this offseason, and they've had a few holes develop on their offensive line. So taking offensive tackle here helps fill that hole and hopefully protect Tua, because if Tua takes one more hit, he might be done for his career. At number 14, we have the Indianapolis Colts taking Tyler Warren of Penn State. I think the Colts, this is pretty an obvious place for the first tight end of the draft to go. The Colts have a big need at tight end. Over the past few seasons, they've been trotting out some of the most unrecognizable tight ends possible. I honestly couldn't name one that's currently on their roster. At number 15, I have the Atlanta Falcons taking Derek Harmon, defensive tackle from Oregon. Now, the Falcons have needed a pass rush for several years, and I think Harmon is the first step to fixing that. The Atlanta Falcons, of course, will need to pair him with someone, but that they can get to later in the draft. At number 16, we have the Arizona Cardinals, and I have them taking Jalen Walker, linebacker from Georgia. Now, the Cardinals, I think, will be operating more on a best player available kind of basis. They have a bunch of holes, but they don't have a necessarily main thing they need to fix in this draft. The Cincinnati Bengals, at 17, I have taking Mike Green, which an edge rusher out of Marshall. Now, the Bengals, their defense is basically non-existent. They've paid most of their money to the offense, which means any defensive players they're going to have moving into this upcoming year will have to come from the draft. And that's why I think taking an edge rusher here in Mike Green is a good idea. At number 18, we have the Seattle Seahawks, and I have them taking Tyler Booker, offensive guard out of Alabama. Now, the Seattle Seahawks O-line last year was very bad, and I think taking an offensive guard here in the first round is a good idea for them because they have to protect Sam Darnold. At number 19, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking Malachi Starks, safety from Georgia. Now, Starks is a good safety prospect, and the reason I have the Buccaneers taking him is because the Buccaneers secondary has a few holes in it. I think that's the weakest part of their defense, and taking this safety in the first round will free them up to make different moves later in the draft. At number 20, I have the Denver Broncos taking Omarion Hampton, running back out of North Carolina. Now, the Broncos need a running back. Their running game last year was atrocious, and I think Omarion Hampton fills that role perfectly. Their draft will be mostly about improving on what they already have. The only real hole they have, of course, being running back. So, by taking Hampton here, it makes a lot of sense for the Broncos, and they'll probably look to improve a few other positions later in the draft. At number 21, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I think with the 21st pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers will draft a quarterback with Jalen Milroe of Alabama. I think the Steelers fall into the Jalen Milroe is the next Jalen Hurts trap and draft him here at 21. At pick number 22, I have the Los Angeles Chargers selecting Colston Loveland, tight end from Michigan. Now, the reason being is the Chargers need another pass catcher for Justin Herbert because Ladd McConkey was their only good pass catcher last year, and he only broke out towards the end of the season. So bringing in someone else who can be a solid pass catcher for Justin Herbert is very important for the Chargers. At number 23, we have the Green Bay Packers, and I think with pick 23, they will draft a wide receiver. I'm just kidding. They're going to pick edge rusher out of Georgia, Mikel Williams, because the Packers don't pick wide receivers early, and that's probably not going to change here. So why do I think they pick Mikel Williams? Well, they need a better pass rush, and I think Mikel Williams provides that. At pick 24, I have the Minnesota Vikings picking Jahdae Barron, cornerback out of Texas. Now, I think the Vikings are also going to be operating similar to the Packers on best player available, and cornerback is a hole that I think the Vikings will need to fill a little bit because of people who have departed in the off season. At pick 25, I have the Houston Texans picking Josh Simmons, offensive tackle out of Ohio State. And this was obvious. The Texans need to protect CJ Stroud, and given that they traded away their best offensive lineman already this offseason, picking a offensive tackle here is not a very big surprise. At pick 26, I think the LA Rams will take a swing at Jackson Dart, quarterback from Ole Miss. I think the Rams are going to go out and get Matthew Stafford's heir apparent in Jackson Dart. I think Dart's a very effective quarterback prospect, and in Sean McVay's system, he can develop into an actual starting NFL quarterback. At number 27, I think the Baltimore Ravens will take Gray Zabel, offensive guard from North Dakota State. Now, Zabel, honestly, one of the better guards in this draft class, and I think the reason the Baltimore Ravens take him is they have some holes they need to fill in that O-line, and they want to protect Lamar Jackson. At number 28, we have the Detroit Lions, and I have the Detroit Lions taking James Pierce Jr., an edge rusher out of Tennessee. Now, the reason I think the Lions will take him here is because they want depth on that defense. In 2024, they were injury riddled. At number 29, we have the Washington Commanders, and I think the Washington Commanders, with the 29th pick, will take Siobhan Ravel, cornerback out of East Carolina. Now, the reason I think the Commanders take Ravel here is mostly because they need to improve that secondary. They exist in the NFC East that have high-powered offenses like the Eagles and Cowboys in it, and they need to be able to defend the passing game. At number 30, I have the Buffalo Bills taking Jihad Campbell, linebacker out of Alabama. Now, the Bills' defense has been an interesting case in the past few years. It's not been the best, and I think taking a linebacker here will improve it, and I hope the Bills just resist the urge to give the Kansas City Chiefs whatever they want for the 30th pick overall. At pick 31, I think the Kansas City Chiefs will take Donovan Jackson, offensive guard out of Ohio State. The reason I think they take him here is because protecting Patrick Mahomes is important, and in 2024, their O-line did not do that well. So by taking offensive guard here, hopefully they rectify that issue and protect Patrick Mahomes better moving forward. Last but not least, at number 32, we have the Philadelphia Eagles, and at 32, I think the Eagles will select Nick Scourton, who is an edge rusher out of Texas A&M. And the reason I think the Eagles take him here is because Howie Roseman loves just drafting defense early in these drafts, and I don't see that changing. With that being said, guys, please like, subscribe, and share, and comment down below, and I'll see you next time.